All right, so the NBA season, while far from over in terms of seeding in the Western Conference, is pretty much over in terms of player statistics and all NBA teams, which is the focal point of this one. I don't think anything's going to change in the next two games for me to adjust my teams. I don't think. I may be wrong, in which case I'll put it on Twitter. But yeah, for all NBA teams, I think that they're pretty much set in stone. And before we go any further, I want to mention this. I'm going to list a bunch of players that I will not mention outside of this part because they are ineligible for the teams. So all you Steph Curry fans, Devin Booker, Harden, Halliburton, Bradley Beal fans, they're ineligible, okay? They can't make the teams. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, Paul George, and Kevin Durant cannot make these teams, okay? Would have made my job for forwards a lot easier, okay? Because I still don't feel great about the third team. But yeah, no, they can't make the list. So we're done talking about them. Okay, and one more before we get into the All NBA third team. We'll start at the bottom. We'll go a couple honorable mentions because one specifically might make some people a little upset. So a couple honorable mentions: Kyrie Irving, Drew Holiday, Jalen Brunson. All had very good years. All had fantastic years, even I would say, but just didn't do quite enough to crack in to the list, in my opinion. And the one that'll probably piss the most people off is Ja Morant. I don't have. He was just outside battling with my last guard here. And what did it was just in his absence, the Grizzlies were fine. They didn't lose their spot in the seeding, whereas opposed to my next guy who would be off, he didn't miss much time, and I don't know how good his team would have been without him. So I left Ja Morant off this list. Pascal Siakam is also off the list, and it's close for the forwards, but the guy ahead of him just had a tiny bit more team success. And then for the centers, Bam Adebayo, Brook Lopez, and Kristaps Porzingis all had great years, all had very valid cases. But the top three centers in terms of all NBA teams are pretty much set in stone. Which I'll start there. All NBA third team, the center I have there is Domantas Sabonis. I was like, could he be classified as forward? Yeah, but at center, he fits perfectly into that All NBA third team, just behind the two MVP candidates. Sabonis, what he did on the Kings has been fantastic this year. He's gotten them all the way up to the third seed. He's been probably the best player. You can debate between him and Fox who the best player is on that team, but yeah, I think Domantas Sabonis is very well deserving of All NBA third team, along with his teammate De'Aaron Fox, who was that last one out in place of Ja Morant. I don't know how good they would have been without either one of these two. I think even if Fox had just missed some time, they probably would have fallen down to fourth, fifth in the seeding. When we see how wild this West is, it's a couple games missed for the Kings, and they could be barely in the play-in. You never know, and I think they're pretty safe enough ahead. But it's also in part to how much these two played together. They played fantastically when they did play together, and they did it so often that they got 48 wins as of this moment with it. Joining him as a guard, Damian Lillard. He was a little higher. I had him on second team for most. I had him on first team, in all honesty, for most of the year. He then fell to second team, then fell to third team, just pretty much due to team success. It's nothing individually. He's right up there with the top scorers in the league. These last couple years, he's seen his assists rise up. Damian Lillard is fantastic, just partially and due to team success, especially with the next two on All-NBA second team. Just couldn't have him ahead of him. And rounding out All-NBA third team, what I feel the least confident in is Jimmy Butler and Jaren Jackson Jr. Triple J, he's done a pretty good job securing his spot on an All-NBA team. Because he missed some time early in the year, but he's played more than enough games. He's in the top two for Defensive Player of the Year, depending on who you ask. Jimmy's where I have a bit of a problem, though, because he didn't do too much, and the Heat weren't a top. Like, he's pretty much doing what he normally does when the Heat are good, and now the Heat are bad, and it feels weird having him here. But I can't put Pascal Siakam ahead of him because in terms of team success, like their numbers are fairly close. And the Heat have just been a better team this year. So I went ahead and gave Jimmy Butler that nod at All-NBA third team. So the All-NBA third team in total being De'Aaron Fox, Damian Lillard, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jimmy Butler, and Domantas Sabonis. Moving on to All NBA second team, we'll start back up at the guards this time. Um, I have Donovan Mitchell and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is probably the best number two in all of basketball because a lot of times he's not even a number two. I was like, there are so many games that he is always the number two, but he there are games where he outplays Tatum. I was like, Tatum can have a great game and Jaylen Brown could still be even better. He averaged 26 points, 7 rebounds as your second option as a shooting guard, 7 rebounds. I guess he's a small forward, but whatever. He does classify as a guard, so I went ahead and put him here. He has an argument for All NBA first team, but just the ones ahead of him are just so great. And Donovan Mitchell, I don't think it needs to be. It does need to be said because no one's talking about the Cavs enough. The main difference from last year's Cavs team and this year's Cavs team is Donovan Mitchell. All right, it's quite simply Donovan Mitchell. He has made this team so much better. He gives them a star to turn to in the postseason because otherwise you get a 6-7 seed because the team's solid, but you don't have someone to turn to in the playoffs. And Donovan Mitchell steps up in the playoffs, so I'm excited to see how that goes. But he gives you a star. He gives you a stud. Donovan Mitchell has been fantastic this year, leading the Cavs to the 4th seed in the East. For the forwards, two guys who have kind of similar career paths. Were always looked over. Then they joined the right team, and now they're on All-NBA second team. That is Julius Randle and Lauri Markkanen. And their stats are actually, well, I guess Randle has a couple more assists. But, both averaging 25 points per game. 10 rebounds for Randle, 8.6 for Markkanen. But, it's just like the first year with Randle's Knicks. He just appeared out of nowhere. Most improved player. Lauri Markkanen probably going to be most improved player this year. And what he did with the Jazz, especially to start the year, was no one saw it coming. I was like, I didn't think they'd be bad. I didn't realize they'd be this good. I was like, I didn't have them even contending for a playing spot to start the year. And I'm pretty sure I was higher on them than just about everybody else. So what he's done has been incredible for the Jazz, and then he's going off to join the Finnish military. So I wish him the best. Hope that everything goes well there. Those two are just fantastic forwards. They are the leaders of their team. They are the reason why the Knicks. Well, Julius Randle's a big reason why the Knicks are the 5th seed. Probably not the reason, but the Markkanen is the reason the Jazz were in it for so long. And then at center, I guess as soon as I give this one away, very clear who the All-NBA first team center is. I got Jokic. I think Embiid is the best center this year in basketball. He will take home the MVP, take home All-NBA first team. Jokic, he's been very good all year round until this later half where he's kind of fallen off. And Embiid's also been pretty well all year long. And then this back of the year, he stepped it up. He had that 50-point performance against the Celtics. That all but secured it. That locked it up. But not to take away from anything else he's done this year as much as I want to, as a Celtics fan. I was like, I don't like the Sixers, but Embiid, he's been fantastic all year long and very much deserves the All-NBA first team. But quick, before we get to the other 4 members, All-NBA second team, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Lauri Markkanen, Julius Randle, and Nikola Jokic are on my All-NBA second team. And then, for All-NBA first team, Julius Randle, obviously the center. Couldn't have been anybody else. But the guards I have, as much as I have preached team success, these two don't have it, but they're incredible. As of these two, one of them's in the play and one of them's fighting for it. The first guard, my number 1 guard, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, getting All-NBA first team nod, in my opinion, 31.4 points per game. And the Thunder would be at the bottom of the barrel with the Spurs, with the Rockets, if it weren't for Shai. In my opinion, that's where they would be. If he didn't have the year he was having, they would be nowhere near the play-in. Let alone, I guess they are in the play-in. Never mind. But I think Shai is worthy of an All-NBA first-team selection. I'd be a little disappointed if he doesn't get it. And then the second one, he's going to get it, almost no matter what he did. Luka Doncic, as he's just astronomical. He's so good. It sucks that the Mavs are losing this much. Kind of takes away from it. but he himself is so good, and he deserves an All NBA first team selection. Then rounding it off with the forwards, I think this one was pretty simple. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jason Tatum, I think, are the two best forwards in the NBA just in general. Um, Giannis has been in the should have been in the MVP race all year long. Finally, towards the end of it, people are starting to recognize how good he's been. 31 points, almost 12 rebounds, almost 6 assists a game for Giannis. Yes, he may not have a bag, but holy cow, can he score and still play defense? Like he's fantastic. And then Tatum, his efficiency numbers aren't great, and that checks out when watching him. But he is still the second best wing in all basketball, and he had the second best season. Is probably fourth, I would say, in the MVP race, behind Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis. But he is very far behind them. But yeah, he had a tremendous year, and those two are my NBA first team. So rounding it up, overall whole, again, Steph, KD, all of them aren't ineligible. Why did I talk about them again? I said I wouldn't. Anyway, all NBA first team: Shea, Luka, Giannis, Tatum, and Embiid are all NBA first team. All NBA second team: Mitchell, Brown, Randall, Markkanen. I keep blanking on him. I'm sorry, and Jokic. Then all NBA third team: Lillard, Fox, Jaren Jackson Jr., Butler, and Domantas Sabonis. Yeah, no, those are all my All NBA teams. If you have any disagreements, leave them down below, and I'll see y'all later. Adios.